Welcome. This is David Boles, Human Meme. Today's topic, Mormons and the Doomsday Prepper. I have always been fascinated by the Doomsday Prepper. Fearful, radical, exceptional, fatalistic, nihilistic, and yet, in the ultimate end, they still want to live. And not only live, but thrive after the apocalypse. And they want to thrive even though the new world consists only of demons and fire. And that sort of dedication to cause takes a certain special kind of personality. To want that end as the result of the end of days. The Doomsday Prepper is unique in society because that sort of prepper is getting ready for the end of the world, not the next moment in logical time. The Doomsday Prepper hopes to scare a place from which we cannot come back. Except that the Doomsday Prepper, fully expects to return to this forgotten world, in full, in kind, unabated, healthy, and hopeful to propagate a new future. Now, if you have Mormon friends from the Church of Latter-day Saints, you may know they are also preppers of a sort. The Church of Latter-day Saints, I am told, requires every Mormon family to have at least 1 year's worth of food stored in their homes, in case something terrible happens, and they have to live off the grid in a city and in a society by themselves for a year. And these Mormon parents, these families, are expected to feed their entire group, their family, for a year and feel safe and be safe. And that means they need generators and lots of deep freezers and gasoline and oil and propane and wood and butane and you know what I mean. And so, my friend, if you ever visit a Mormon family and you're friendly with them, you might ask to view their frozen meat storage. You'll be impressed by how many fine cuts of meat are required to feed a large family for a year. And it all must be frozen and preserved, even if gas and electricity are lost. And so the next step is enabled for the faithful Mormon family. Not only must you have a year's worth of food stored, you also need a method for preparing and storing and serving the food. You need lots of personally controlled and managed electricity and gas. You will need a year's worth of propane or gasoline or wood or whatever else you choose to save your family for a year. One good close Mormon friend of mine showed me his frozen meat stash in his garage. 5 gigantic, fully filled, deep freezers of meat. Enough meat, he said, to feed his family of 9 for a year. Amazing stuff. And the Mormons rotate their food. They eat what is stored, and the newest, freshest stuff gets canned and stored and frozen in sequence. Last in, first out, into the tummy. Plus, the Mormon family must also have clean access to gallons and gallons of stored water that is safe for drinking, a year's worth of purified, drinkable goodness. But the Mormons are not really doomsday preppers. The Doomsday Prepper wants to protect what they own and not share with outsiders. And so, in addition to foodstuffs, there is hoarded ammunition and guns and knives and axes and other survival gear mechanisms used to keep out the outsider. Others who may wish to share in their prepared spoils. And the method of theory for some doomsday preppers is, me first, you die. So if you try to take the food and stash of the doomsday prepper, you will be shot and killed, because there's no sharing at the end of the world. And since everyone in a capacity of governance and emergency first responders and policing are all presumed dead in this apocalyptic aftermath, the Doomsday Prepper becomes the law. And the Doomsday Prepper sets down the hard lines. And the Doomsday Prepper will shoot to kill if you try to take what they've hidden away for their use only. And in all of that, my friend, is where the problem arises. The Doomsday Prepper appears to assume that only one or two people will be trying to join them in their fallout shelter, to hope to share their food and ammo and cutting edges. And in that particular scenario, sure, the Doomsday Prepper wins. The Doomsday Prepper has better guns and preparation and more ammo. But there is always an ammunition problem, isn't there? Bullets are fresh and ready for really only a few years before they begin to deteriorate and lose their killing magic. And then what? Clubs and knives to protect the fort. So, now, it's Doomsday. It's happened, and the Prepper is ready and survives. And then their real problems begin, as the entire rest of their world around them, even in the country, let alone the city, will be wanting to share the Doomsday Prepper food and shelter. And there is no place for the Doomsday Prepper to hide, because they need to be near their collected stuff and their defenses. All the while, the hungry, desperate, dying rest of us know where to find them. We know where they live. And we plan on attacking them to get the stuff they have saved for the rest of us, even though they didn't. Yes, my human meme friend, the Doomsday Prepper have made themselves a shining light on a hill, welcoming all who see their vigil. We didn't prepare, but you did. So now you share. And so now, what? The Doomsday Prepper cannot kill 1,000 people to protect their horde, because another 1,000 people will see the light and replace the dead and dying, and they will be even hungrier and angrier than the 1,000 dead who stood before them and were shot down. If you have food and lights and supplies and smoke and water and shelter, people are going to find you in the apocalypse. And people are going to demand to join you one way or the other. And what then, my Doomsday Prepper friend, will you do to defeat them and protect yourself? Will you invite them in? Will you kill them all? Will you hide away, denying yourself the pleasures of shelter and fire and light and food, lest you be discovered living the doomsday high life on the Platte? And I admire the idea of having a go bag and for preparing for disaster. But those people are not the average. And the rest of us, the desperate, the thoughtless, the criminally insane rest of us, are going to root out the Doomsday Prepper friend and expect to be saved and taken care of and salvaged, really, because it's the right thing to do. And our Doomsday Prepper friends will have no choice but to go along, or risk being killed with their own ammunition, or overthrown in their own homemade forts. It will be King of the Hill, and everyone wants to be king of your hill. And now, in reflection, what about this? Is it possible for the Doomsday Prepper to lead a community, a city or a state, to help coordinate a large rescue effort before the apocalypse, so that everyone in the community may survive together without having to shoot each other. And in a sense, that's what our Mormon friends are trying to do on a smaller scale. Get their church membership prepared for an emergency and ready for the end of days or a national crisis. But Mormons pretty much have the same problem as the Doomsday Prepper. And all their neighbors who are non-Mormon are going to expect to also be fed out of the Mormon deep freeze as well. And as a Mormon in crisis, you cannot feed only your family. You're going to have to help feed a nation, or fight to the death not to. And after you're dead, your family can bury you while all your former friends feast on your body and your prepper food. All done in your warm basement with electricity and gallons of hot chocolate. And we all must know this. If the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind, then the one house with lights in a blackout will be the safe haven everyone else will race to for shelter, protection, and warmth. And there will be no living choice for those who were prepared, but to open the doors and let everyone else inside to share your light. Or else. And yes, I fear for my friends who are Mormon, and also my friends who are Doomsday Preppers. Their driving instinct is right, but I fear they will only ultimately fail in reality. A reality they cannot control beyond simple preparation. Their theory of survival is not viable. The realistic solution is to include everyone in the preparation for emergencies. And yes, local governments and FEMA and the Red Cross in America try to get that job done. But in an ultimate crisis, the rest of us, the real people, the us of us, will be banging on doors and jimmying locks to get what must ultimately be shared. Regret or failure to prepare is going to be a really hard reality for everyone involved who survives this apocalypse. Because no one is spared at the end of the world, and everyone is required to fight for their own life, even if it means taking another. Because that's human nature. And that's the way of the living. And that's the final test of a life. Did you fight enough to live? Did you protect your family? Or did you only leave the world in ruins, simmering in ash? So please be wary, my Mormon and Doomsday Prepper friends, because those around you who know you, they know where you live, and they know what you have. And like it or not, everyone around you is counting on you to save them in the end. Save them even if you plan to run away, or kill them to protect what is yours. They will still find you, and hunt you, and demand that you help save them from themselves. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.